the Spirit of the Lord work in your spirit this morning and strengthen you and establish you. You know, there's folks that's been in church for years and years and years. It's not established on anything. I mean, you know, can I say something this morning? What you believe this morning may have come from your mind and emotion. But what you know about the Lord this morning came from His Spirit. And the more that we can, you know, get in tune with His Spirit, the more that we decide to let God be God, the stronger we get in all the things that He has for us. Now, you know, we have an enemy, folks, this morning. Whether, I don't know if anybody out there haven't noticed it or not, but we've got one that is constantly determined to tear you down, to drain you of your faith, to make you begin to see with the eyes of the world. But Jesus told the disciples, He said, you just stay right here in Jerusalem to be endued with some power. And that power was the power of the Holy Spirit. And the same disciples that were hiding and afraid for their lives a few days earlier, when they got filled with that Spirit, went out on in the streets and taught Jesus boldly. And faced whatever that the world had for them to face, and still proclaimed the truth of God's Word. And Brother Kevin was talking about there a while ago about talking to the guy that believed in a higher power. See, the devil has opened the gates in these last days so that man has so many ways to look at things. And there's so many people out there trying to gather the crowd. That's what they're trying to gather. They're not trying to gather souls for the kingdom, but trying to gather the crowd. And the devil understands, folks, that if he can get you trapped in your mind, it's a hard trap to break loose from. It takes the Spirit of God to break that. See, faith is believing in what God said. We got to what we call everything faith. You've heard me say around here a bunch. If it's not in the Word of God, if your faith is founded on something beside the Word of God, it's not real faith, it's human stupidity. Oh, man. It just is. Because there is one God and one Creator who's the Father of Jesus. And it's His plan, not ours. And so it's best this morning that we walk in His plan. The way to do that is to give ourselves total to His Spirit. Now God gave us eyes so that we could see the beauty of His creation. But if we don't see through the eyes of the Spirit, these eyes cannot see the things of God. The prophets that you see in the Bible wrote prophecies that was not going to happen until hundreds and thousands of years ahead of them. Wow. But when they saw through the eyes of the Spirit, they wrote as that Spirit gave them utterance, and their prophecies happened exactly. Yes. They weren't guessing. They were not fortune tellers. They were men of God, listening to the Spirit of God. So we need to make sure this morning that the Spirit that we're hearing is God's Spirit, that the truth that we're seeing is through His eyes and not ours. Because we get tied up in emotion a lot, and in things that we want to see, things that we want to hear, things that we want to believe in the flesh. You know, I talking to a fellow the other day, and he's supposed to be Christian. He sounded like he was, but so much, it was just strange to him what the Bible said. He was caught up in something, but he had no clue where we're at in time or what the Bible said about the things that's coming. No clue. And this was not a young man. He's an older man. Been there for years. No clue. Folks, God gave us this Word so so that you and I could know that He is God and that this is His plan. And so that when we see these things happening, we can say, well, that's what God said, and this is where I'm at. You know, if you take a trip, we got all these gadgets now that shows you where you go. But you used to have to roll out the old map. And it'd tell you what town comes next. Some of y'all might not ever went anywhere on the map, but that's what we used to do, is take the old map out, and it tells you what town comes next. Well, when you get to that town, you know how close you are to your destination because it's there. When you see those road signs, you know, that says, gives you those places to eat a few miles down the road, well, you know, hey, you know where you got to go to eat. So when God gives us these signs that He's given us in the Bible, folks, it's to show us where we're at and how close we are to our destination. And we need to pay attention. Now, if you have your Bibles, and if you don't, there's probably a few laying around here somewhere that you can pick up and use. But we're going to start out this morning in Revelations, the 13th chapter. And a lot of folks don't fool with Revelations. I've had people, you know, that were Christians say, you know, we don't fool with Revelations because it's a hidden book. You can't really know what Revelation said. But if you start out in Revelations, it says it's the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto Him to show unto His servants the things that must shortly come to pass. So it's revelation means a clearing, a manifestation of seeing. And so the revelation is what God gave Jesus to show us. And John began to look through, you know, God let John start looking through his eyes. He carried him up there. John's on the Isle of Patmos. And he brought John up and let John see through his eyes the things that he wanted him to write. And these things are affecting us today. And we're seeing them today, and we're seeing the foundation blocks being laid for all things to be fulfilled. But Revelation, the 13th chapter, John wrote this. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy or slander or falsehood. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. His feet was as the feet of a bear, his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Now Daniel saw these same beasts in his prophecy, which was symbolic of world powers. And John saw these world powers coming together in the end time as a global unit. Now, he said, I saw him rise up. Now, to rise up, it means something stood up in a place where it was not before. See, if you rise up, it means you're no longer seeking. You're in a place you was not, in a position where you was not. And John said, what this thing I'm telling you is not here yet, but I saw it rise up. And he saw this end-time nations coming together. Now, if you turn over, and you don't have to go there, but in Revelations 17, we see a symbolic woman riding this beast, representing of the coming world, spiritual or religious order. And 17 and 15 tells us that the water mentioned there is peoples, multitudes, nations, tongues. In other words, the world nations come together in the end time to make a one world government. Now, we also, if you go down in that chapter 13, you'll find a false prophet rising up to lead a world religious order. And all of these things, folks, has to come together in these end times in total fulfillment. But when you begin to talk to people about a one world government, and then they look around and they see that it doesn't look like a one world government. We have folks fighting everywhere. We are more global than we think. We're united economically through treaties, but yet we still have a bunch of confusion everywhere. We're not together. And the reason that you don't see the one world, let me tell you this. You better not see it. Because if you see the one world government come together and you see the Antichrist sit down, you've done missed it. See? What we see rising is the building block of a political and an economic and a religious rule. A world with nations band together with no borders. You can hear me. Nations coming together with no borders. That's what's going to happen on the Antichrist. Europe's already that way, and it's a mess. We have folks pushing in America to get that way, and it's a mess already too. Now, sometimes we miss things because we read these prophecies and we think, well, okay, we're going to be here. Now, I'm telling you what's coming so that you can recognize the building blocks. This old barn here was built out of an old hay barn. First time I saw it, it didn't look like this. It had one wall right there, and it was tin and rusted. And the floor was covered with rotten hay. See? But it was the beginning of what you see here. And we're looking at the beginning of things that is coming. Now, we see the push for globalization. If you listen to the news, you hear folks talking about all the time, we're a global community. That's the reason borders are dropping, because we're just all one family. But there's a problem there. We'll get to that in a minute. But Revelation 13 and 5 says this, talking about the Antichrist. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemings, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. That's 3.5 years. So that's the last 3.5 years of the tribulation. So like I said, folks, you will not see the fulfillment of what John was seeing here unless you have missed the rapture. But by seeing the foundation blocks being laid, we can know where we're at on the road to our destination. You understand what I'm saying? The Antichrist will come into full power 3.5 years into the tribulation. That can only happen when the chaos you see now comes to its conclusion. A lot of church folks are waiting around, waiting to see what happens next, where they say, when this happens, we're going to really get on fire. When this happens, we're really going to start pushing. And they won't see it happen because they're believing that they're going through all this. So they're just waiting. But see, the Antichrist is going to, through the power of the false prophet, mark the whole world with a mark. The Bible said that you would neither buy nor sell. Only now could that be a possibility. See? Only now do we have that capability of doing that. We have the technology to do that. But is everybody marked? No. But the foundation's laid. The foundation's laid. And we're already getting the world set to accept this thing that's coming as a natural, normal thing. They got them chips now that you put in your dog. Somebody finds a dog, they know exactly where to come. They're putting I forgot the name of it, it's called Angel or something. A program that they're trying to get instituted. They say we'll never lose another child. They want you to put these little chips in your children, so if somebody kidnaps them, they can just keep on the GPS and go find where they are. We're so number oriented now, everybody, see? And it's to get you in the mindset that what's coming is just a natural, helpful thing. And that's that too, see? So much of what's taught about Revelation is taught like it's going to be such a scary thing, when it's not. It's going to sound so logical. It's going to look so necessary. But this, see, the Antichrist and this world government cannot come together until after the chaos. And if you'll go back and you'll start reading the judgments that's opened in Revelation 6 and through 10, I think it is, where you'll get the seals and the trumpets and all these judgments that's fallen that kills most of the world's people. That's what will bring the World Alliance together. Now, we've got to get together because of such devastation, because there will be people starving. There will be disease that's breaking out all over. And the world will say, we must come together to survive. It will seem like a necessary thing. Go back and read those judgments. Go back and read those things that's going to fall upon the earth. It's not a pretty picture. It's not a pretty picture. But after all of these things, a man steps forward and says, I can fix it. That won't look scary at all. That will look necessary. And people will be thanking God for the root of Satan's end. But it's coming. It's coming. But see, the devil has to bring about that certain things to get the world in preparation for what his plan is. And he's been at it step by step for generations. For generations. And it's starting to work. Well, the Bible, just like the Bible told us. See, the foundation of having a godly nation is to raise up godly children, generation after generation. That's the foundation. That's the bedrock. And so Satan has begun to tear down the families so that there is no family security. So children just believe what's handed to them. Whatever. See, Matthew 19:4-6, Jesus said that from the beginning God had made us male and female. And for this cause shall a man leave father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall be one flesh. Y'all know that. This was Jesus' outline for how it's supposed to work in the family. And the whole Bible, even the Old Testament, all the way through the New Testament, tells us how we should raise up children. How that we should raise them up in the fear and the admonition of the Lord. So Satan began to chip away at that family unit. Until today, and it's not just in America, folks. It's a worldwide thing. Today, the internet, movies, games, school, raises children, not parents. Most of the parents has no idea what's been put in their children's head at school. And so Satan has begun to tear down this family. And when you hear folks talk about, oh, we're one family, well, you're in the wrong family if you don't know God. But see, that sounds appealing. We're all part of something. Because the family unit that God set up, Satan has begun to tear down. Now, among church folks, when you got two people that both says we're Christian, divorce is almost as high among church people today as it is among the world's people. Why is that? It's because Satan has busted out the foundation. Everything goes. Everything goes. And we've come to a place where God is mocked in school. God is mocked in the movies. God is mocked. And the world is exalted. And with the destruction of the family, we are raising up a generation of lost young adults without a foundation, hooked on emotion, hooked on entertainment, nothing to satisfy the real hunger in their soul. And they're raising children with no foundation. How can there be one world ruler? Because children are being raised without a foundation. Morality has been lost and academia backs immorality. Do you know that it is against the law for a teacher to give a child an aspirin in school, but they can give them contraceptives? You can't give them an aspirin. And we wonder what's happening. Well, this is what's happening. When a young football player publicly announces his faith in Jesus, he is ridiculed. When a man begins to say he's a woman, he becomes Woman of the Year on Time Magazine's front page. See? So the difference between morality and what's immoral, and the difference between what God has said and what the world is saying, has got very, very, very wide, folks, until God is lost in the shuffle. Football is fixing to start up. And I love football. But not as much as I love Jesus. Nowhere close. But you watch the first game. Look at the seats. They'll all be full. Look around you and see the seats. It shows where our priorities are. And I'm not knocking football, folks. I'm not. But I'm saying anything that you got that's higher in your life and higher in your priority than God is your God, and it will destroy you, and it'll have you lining up for a mark.
Yes, sir.
The world's ready for a charismatic leader to lead them out of the chaos right now, and we ain't seen chaos yet, but we saw it building. In Isaiah the 10th chapter, 13, 14, speaking of the end-time Antichrist, and he will lead the political wing of this global government, Isaiah said this, for he said, by the strength of my hand I've done it. In other words, I didn't need any help. I'm God, I'm man, but I didn't need any help getting here. I am prudent and have removed the bounds or the borders of the people, have robbed their treasures. I've put down the inhabitants like a violent man, and my hand has found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathered eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth, and there was none that moved the wing or opened the mouth or peeped. This could never happen without a drastic change in the way men think. The Antichrist, Isaiah said, would gather the whole earth and gather their treasures and give back to them what he thought they needed. Yes. You know, when I was growing up, and that's been a while back, of course I'm still growing up, but when I was young anyway, children couldn't wait to get out of school and get a job where they could take care of themselves. We have come to the generation that can't wait for somebody to give them something. It's a free ride. And did y'all see this the other day to show you how our mind has changed over these years? Miss Clinton, and I'm not trying to be political, I'm just telling you the truth, spoke about raising taxes on the middle class, and they all stood up and cheered. Yeah, tax them where I can have something. See, this is the spirit, folks, that's going to bring in this man. After all the chaos, after all of the death and destruction, he will stand up and say, I can have a program that can give you food and clothes on your back and a home to live in. And we'll line up. People will line up, see? And all of those folks that's in the churches waiting to see all of this. Well, I don't believe in no rapture. I ain't taking the mark of the beast, but I don't believe in a rapture. You'll take it. Because let me tell you something, folks. Folks, people are not, they're not even so fired up for God's word today that they want to come to church. Right. Church folks. And you tell me that you won't take the mark of the beast when your kids are hungry? When you're not even excited about the word of God now? Yes, you will. But the spirit that we see boiling is the spirit that's going to bring in Revelation 13 after the chaos. See, you have to start a foundation to build a house. And Satan is starting a foundation. What do we see rising? What do we see coming up that hadn't been there before? We see the European Union already without borders, running on a pretense of coming utopia. We see the United Nations pushing as hard as they can this global agenda. And sometimes you haven't read it, you ought to read the Agenda 21. And I don't care who gets to be president. I don't care how high you build the wall. It will not work eventually. Might work a while. But nations are going to come with no borders. Because there's going to be one central ruler and one set of laws. Now, nations used to look at immigration, and like I said, I'm not trying to get political, but folks, we've got to see all these things. You know, we used to look at immigration, we used to look at immigrants and say, if we bring them in, what can they do to strengthen the nation? Now we look at immigrants and say, what can we do to make them like us? And we bring them in and feed them, clothes, and house them, and then try to appease them inside our own nation. Same thing that happened to Israel, folks. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing happening, but this time it's in a worldwide situation. London, England, has now got so many Islamic people there that they're beginning to call it London stand. Europe, the whole face of Europe is changing, and it's changing to fit this. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. See, we see these things building. We ought to know how close we are to rapture. Because before they can be fully implemented, you got to be gone. Because if you're not gone, some of us loudmouths will be saying, that ain't it. See? We want to know where we're at. And it's being fueled by one spirit. Can you see it rising? We can see it rising. And we're on, like I said a while ago, we're on this. We want everything for nothing. We want free stuff. A generation willing for the government to gather the riches with no resistance if they can be taken care of. Is a generation that will accept a man that says, I can do it. Again, I know I'm saying I sound political, and I'm not trying to be. But we elected a guy twice that promised hope and change with no evidence that he was capable of bringing it. But free stuff. Free stuff. I heard a woman say, well, I ain't going to worry about my car payment no more, or putting gas in it, because he'll do it. Boy, I bet she's disappointed. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Children have not been raised with a work ethic.
Right.
They've not been raised to believe that there is an absolute truth. Let me tell you something. Brother Kenny was talking about it a while ago, a little bit there. About this fellow talking about the higher power. Unless you understand that for anything to work, there has to be an absolute truth.
Yes.
Unless you understand that there is an absolute truth, then folks, you don't have a foundation at all, because what comes along next that looks a little better than what you believe in right now, you'll jump on that too.
That's right.
But when you have a knowledge of what the absolute truth is, folks, you're not going to be swayed by something less than that. You've got to have something to measure stuff by. Now, 2 Peter 2:2, talking about this generation and how false teachers would arise, he said that many would follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the truth is evil, shall be evil spoken of. The truth will become the enemy. See any of that lately? I hear folks all the time saying now that the real problem is religion. If we just get rid of religion, we wouldn't have all these wars. Really? Really? What has religion got to do with people that's getting shot in the street, drive-by shootings? What's religion got to do with folks getting hopped up on dope and killing their own family? What did religion have to do when the Japanese dropped bombs on Pearl Harbor? See? It's not religion, it's the spirit in man.
Right.
What did religion have to do with Cain killing Abel? And I'm not preaching about religion either, because I don't like it either. But I like salvation.
Yes.
I like the truth of God. See? But to replace God with man, Satan had to get rid of the family and to make God, in the human consciousness, to make God not really important, or to make him whoever you decided he would be. To make man doubt the existence of God. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. You've probably heard me say this before. If somebody comes up to you and just begins to tell you that there is no God, it's good to witness to him about Jesus, but don't be arguing with that. Just tell him about Jesus and walk on. You say, well, what are you talking about? Why not? Because if he can stand in the middle of all this, and he got enough reasoning to know somebody built it, what do you think you're going to do?
Wow.
It takes the Spirit of God to break that kind of stuff. Yeah. You just live before him, the example of Jesus. You tell him about Jesus, but don't be, I say it all the time. I get on Facebook sometimes and Christians and just be arguing with somebody that's, he's on there for an argument. I mean, if you argue with the devil, folks, you're going to lose, because he's got the minds blinded to start with. Cast him out. But don't argue with it. How many conversations did you see Jesus get into with the devil? You know, the devil took him out there and tipped him. And you know what he did? He just kept hitting him with the word.
Yeah.
He never stopped saying, well, you might be right. But to take God, to come into this place where man becomes God, you've got to get rid of God. You can't really do that, but you can get rid of it in man's mind by painting a pretty picture. And that's what's happening. And truth is beginning to be evil spoken of. You know, if you don't want men in the bathroom with your little girls, you're a bigot. You know. If you don't think Islam is on the same level as Jesus, you're a bigot. And so, you know, that's the world, what they're saying. And so Satan has found a way to try to replace in man's mind who God is. Truth is being evil spoken of. Have you noticed in these last days that Marriage between a man and woman, which Jesus said that's what it was. That's it. In the beginning, God made them male and female. That's God's plan. But have you noticed that marriage now between a man and a female that's what's abnormal.
Yeah.
Marriage between same-sex partners is the normal thing. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. All of this is happening too. Here and across the world, because the Antichrist, he's going to be normal. He's going to be homosexual. I'm not just guessing. Daniel said that. So it's put man's mind into this is the normals, the normal thing to go. It's getting rid of what God has said so that man can follow what the devil has put out there. It's happening. And Paul said this. He told the Thessalonians, for this cause, God should send them strong delusion. Because they've decided to believe something besides God. That's what Paul said. That God will send them strong delusion and they'll believe a lie. And see, it's like we said to start with, folks. If what you're standing on is what you thought up in your mind, then you have listened to the wrong God. You've listened to Satan. Because God's a spirit, he'll reveal to you through the Spirit who he is and his truth. What you know about the Bible has been revealed to you by the Spirit of God. Because he is a spirit. That's the way he deals. Now, the reason, folks, that's the reason that the world is being gripped in all of this and falling for all of this is because the foundation is being laid. Just like the church is trying to lay the foundation for the coming king. Or they better be. The devil is laying the foundation for the coming ruler. All of the blocks being made to bring about that. The minute the church is out of here, folks, all hell will break loose, and the whole foundation for Satan's plan will be already completed. Just wait. Just wait. That's the reason that you see all this chaos. And folks will say, well, I know that's what the Bible said, but I don't really know if I believe that or not. Well, explain this to me. Explain how we went from being able to leave your doors open, unlocked, and leave home and get back and all your stuff being there. Explain how we went from that to having security systems now, and they break that through there and steal. Brenda's brother, they cutting grass. Stopped to cut the lawnmower off in the front of his house, went in to get a glass of tea, and when he come back, his lawnmower was gone that quick in front of his house and brought over daylight. How did we go from being able to trust your neighbor onto having to set up security cameras to keep him from stealing your stuff? How did we go from in the city, folks? City kids used to play out on the sidewalk on the street lights. How did we go from that to suddenly they're not even safe to be on the sidewalk in the daytime? See? How did we go from parents raising their children to the world raising children? How did we go from a nation that was once a city on a hill, a nation that all the world admired, to a nation that is being mocked? How do we go from that to here? And folks, it's all been in just a few years. How did we go from marriage being an honorable thing until marriage being mocked? Explain to me how come all of this is happening at once. How did we go from suddenly Islam is taking the world? How did we go from, I don't know about you, but I can remember a time when I never heard of Islam. How did we go from there to here in so few years? We got an enemy that's building a foundation. You don't have to believe it for it to happen. Because it's happening whether you believe it or not. All in the space of not many years. What do you see rising? Anything? Nothing? A lot of folks don't see anything. A lot of folks saying, hey, It's just like it was from the beginning of time. Well, the Bible said that too. There come scoffers saying, well, where's the promise that it's coming? Yeah. But nothing's changed, but everything has changed. I was talking the other day to my sister. I remember when I'd go down to Talladega, and there'd be many horses and wagons parked around back, you know, as there was cars. And folks would be selling chickens out of coops on the sidewalk. Folks, I remember that. Now we're so regulated, you don't sell anything hardly unless the government has got it regulated. See? Everything has speeded up and it's changed. And we've moved quantum leaps in the last few years. I believe Daniel said knowledge would be increased. And I believe it has been. Jesus told the people in his time. They would question him. He said, you know, if you see a cloud rise up out of the west, you say there's coming a shower, and so it is. And when the south wind blows, you say there'll be heat that comes to pass. And he asked him the question, he said, how do you discern the face of the sky and you don't know what time you're in, or this time? See, he was saying, you need to know. Not only the natural thing, but you need to know what timing you're in, and we do. And I teach a lot around here about knowing the timing. It's of utmost importance that we know the timing. See, God gave the Jews, and I'm fixing to hush and let y'all go. But God gave the Jews 7 feasts. And your Bible calls them feasts, but if you look at the words, it's appointments. The appointments of the Lord. To show them step by step his plan. God gave us this Bible, all of these prophecies, all of these teachings, not only that we could walk in the salvation that Jesus purchased us, but that we would know what timing, in God's timing that we're in. Did God plan on all of this stuff that the devil's doing? No, but he knew it was going to happen because he knew the hearts of men. He knew the hearts of men. Folks, if you think that the world's full of distraction now, let me tell you something, you ain't seen nothing yet because it's going to be greater distraction building all the time as we near closer to that time. That's what made Jesus say, when the Son of Man comes, would he find faith on the earth? Because he knew. And he turned around and said, because iniquity would abound, the love of many would wax cold. He understood that there would be so many distractions in these last days. So much stuff to take man's mind off of where he's actually at. And it's happening. And see, to keep people in church, so all right, I'm going to stop right here. Church is, we ought to be here. We ought to come to church. We should. Because it's fellowship one with another and like minded, and we learn, and this is where we get fed to go out. But just to have a big membership is never what the church was intended to do. It was intended to raise up a people strong in the kingdom, to go raise up a people strong in the kingdom. But to hold on to membership, so many churches now has compromised, and you can't really tell whether they're a church or a social gathering. If you went in there and taught salvation by the blood, so many of them now will throw you out. You say, well, that's exaggerating. No. Saw the other day where the pastor had took out all the crosses. Our church took the crosses down because they were having some Islamic people visit, and he didn't want to offend them. Without the blood, folks, he had nothing to offer them. He might as well leave them Islam. See, nothing to offer. Nothing to offer. But see, we're coming to that. We're coming to that place, and we see these blocks being laid. We ought to be excited about. Hey, you know, we get excited to go on vacation. Or used to. I forgot what that word is now. But you used to get excited about going on vacation. Folks, we ought to be excited about going to meet the King, to live eternally in a place of peace and joy. You ought to be excited. I am. I am. What do you see rising? Do you see these things coming? That they won't catch you unawares. Paul said, we're the children of the day, that these things shall not catch us unawares. And I just want you to start doing something. Of course, you can't get enough of Bible study. But I want you to start, when you're watching the news, start just thinking, now where's this fitting in with prophecy? How is this fitting? Because you'll start seeing that it's all fitting now. That's right. See, I'm going to say this in Hud. I said it a while ago. We just saw Turkey put down a coup. We give Turkey billions and billions of dollars. I saw the other day that we even had some nuclear weapons stored in Turkey. I don't know if that's true or not. I saw an article that said it was. Boy, that's smart if we have. But Turkey is one of the nations that come against Israel in the end time with a Russian alliance. And people look at these all these years because, you know, Turkey's been kind of a democracy. Now, since the coup, the Islamic leader of Turkey has clamped down, and it's not a democracy anymore. It's a dictatorship with billions of American dollars and perhaps nuclear weapons sitting inside. It's come to pass. It's come to pass. Line it up, line it up, line it up. We better be lining up too. Yes, sir. Hallelujah. I hope we said something this morning that would encourage you to get in your word and to understand and know at all times where you're at in God's plan. We can plan anything we want to plan. If it ain't in God's plan, probably ain't going to work, folks. If it does, it won't leave you happy. It won't leave you feel.